Every once in a while, we come across a game that is profoundly special and unique. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is one such game. It's a risky game with gameplay mechanics that threaten to alienate the player and a story that keeps you from getting too comfortable in its short 3 to 4 hour run. But despite that, there's a certain quality about Brothers that exists in very few games today. Perhaps the most notably unique thing about Brothers is its control scheme. The linchpin of Brothers gameplay is its division of labor, so to speak, between the two brothers, whom the player controls by using the right and left analog sticks. The left analog stick controls the big brother, and the right analog stick controls the little brother, with the left and right triggers being their respective action buttons. It's a control scheme that sounds simple enough, but in execution it can really complicate things. In many cases I had one brother walking off idly or stuck up against a wall, while the other brother led the way with confidence. The constant need to self-correct started to grate on me after a while, but the brevity of the story means that the game doesn't last long enough for it to become truly infuriating, but it's also not long enough to adequately rewire over a decade of familiarity with analog stick controls. While this nuisance is noteworthy, it wasn't a serious impediment and only really served to annoy from time to time. Everything in the gameplay of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons hinges on Nai and Naya's cooperation with one another. Coupled with the controls, this makes for some really interesting puzzles, and one moment in particular that I won't ruin for you, when the right and left control scheme is used brilliantly. While none of the puzzles ever felt like impossible mind-benders, they all felt like they reinforced the central theme of mutual aid and accomplishment throughout the game. I found myself better able to discern which brother best suited which part of a puzzle with greater ease as the game went on, even as the puzzles grew more complicated. This felt very well planned on the part of the developer. The brothers grew to know themselves better in this coming-of-age tale, and I grew to utilize their specific skills better in the game. Overall, Starbreeze does a great job of making a game that is fun to play but ultimately uses its gameplay as an effective storytelling device rather than simply a fun distraction. Brothers is an epic tale set in a mystical land with visuals that lend a scope to the environment that is seldom seen in many games. While its art style and character models are reminiscent of something we might find in a series like Fable, the world design is all its own. Far from bombarding the player with sights meant to show off or impress, instead the game opts to quietly lay out the world before you, deftly revealing each environment with such care and imagination that you'll often want to move slowly through it so you can soak it all in. The world of Brothers is one of the most creative things I've seen in any fantasy game, and truly a sight to behold. You'll be taken through dank caverns and caves filled with enormous trolls and ogres, a giant abandoned castle perched on a narrow peak, icy landscapes, and just to remind you of how small you are, a battlefield soaked with the blood of giants. It all makes for a world that feels lived in and real while simultaneously being distinctly fantastical. The soundtrack to Brothers is also an excellent companion to the visuals. Haunting vocalizations and mystical and resounding orchestral themes match up well with the sights and situations in which the two brothers find themselves throughout the game. It's a fitting complement to the story and the visuals of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and reinforces the poignant and emotional heights of the story. It urges you to just sit back and get lost in this amazing, imaginative world, if only for a short time. Brothers begins with the little brother kneeling at a grave and remembering vividly the tragic drowning death of his mother, to which he was the only witness. When we're brought back to the present day, Big Brother is frantically calling for the little brother, and we find that the brother's father is sick. After the two brothers carry their father a short distance to the nearest doctor, they are told that they must find a tree in a faraway land. Presumably the tree has some kind of medicine that will save the father. This part of the game is our jumping off point to the rest of the brothers' story. The whole scene plays out as per usual in Brothers, sans dialogue. That's because the characters in Brothers don't speak English. Actually, they don't speak any intelligible language. Instead, conversations and character interactions are told through actions and body language in a strange, made-up language, kind of like Simlish. Hey, on the horn. It's a neat way of conveying things in a heavily visual way, and it means that more things come across to the player through their interactions with the world and its characters, rather than through reading or listening to heavy streams of dialogue. While the medieval setting and the quest for a mystical tree may seem like typical fairy tale fanfare, Brothers embraces this, but also does a good job of eking out its own unique story. The central focus of the story is, like many fairy tales, about the journey and not the destination. However, the most compelling part is watching the two brothers grow and interact with one another on their journey. Each brother has a unique personality that comes out brilliantly in the small, context-sensitive actions the player can engage with in the world. Every character you meet and help along the way becomes a new chapter in what can best be described as a bedtime story in video game form. The obstacles you encounter and the characters you meet help to immerse you in the lore and intrigue of the world around you. It's possible that you might just find yourself lost in this world so much that you forget about your ultimate goal. In fact, some of the best moments in Brothers come from purely optional side interactions. Whether it's saving a man's life or playing a game with a small child, each encounter adds another page to the book that is Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. It's rare to find a game that can make such a profound impact in such a short amount of time, or one that is as wholly unique in style and substance as Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. More than anything, Brothers is an experience, one that will touch you, make you laugh, break your heart, and bring a smile to your face if you just let it. It's a game that begs to be played by anyone who is thirsty for a taste of fantasy, or perhaps just a good bedtime story. If you get a chance, be sure to check out Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. You'll be glad you did.